Tell me about it later because I want to do that for next year. Hello, hello again. Can I have your attention, please? Thank you again for coming. I'm Mike McMullen, President of the Chamber, and I want to welcome you. We're going to kick this thing off here in a couple seconds. Seeing there probably won't be any time for any kind of announcements at the end because it always seems to run a little bit longer. Hopefully maybe not as much for this year. On all of your tables, there's a list of our upcoming events. Please take a look at that. There's a code you can scan to get yourself registered for it. We really appreciate this. And we enjoy doing this event every year. But this guy's been our chair of the board for the past year. This is his last official event.
Last official?
Isn't it?
Is it?
I think it is. No. Actually, next week, okay. You're doing the first part of it. But he's been great to work with, and I'm talking about Mr. Richard Turner, Executive Director of CMC. Yeah.
Thanks, Mike. I'd like to start off by asking you to stand if you can, and so that we can do the Pledge of Allegiance. Join me in I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard.
Well, as Mike said, I'm Richard Turner. I am the Chief Executive Officer for the Community Media Center of Carroll County, and it's a pleasure to be here at the beginning of the year. Thank you, Mike, for not scheduling this on January 2nd at 7 o'clock in the morning. All right? So that's a little bit of a change from the past, and it's great to see everybody here in the new year. It's a great New Year celebration, I think, as well, kicking off the year with our legislative kickoff. I want to thank our host, Carroll Hospital, a Life Ridge Health Center, for the venue and for the lunch. So let's give them a hand. Thank you very much. And how many of you are sticking to your New Year's resolutions? All right, no shaming. All right, that's a pretty good percentage. This year I decided to do a theme instead of a specific task. I talked to my staff. I'm always coming up with ideas, trying to get our staff to come up with ideas. We start a lot of things, and it's like, we really need to finish. So in that theme, this is, as Mike started to say, it was close to my last turning over the gavel, so to speak, and my term as chair, and I really thank all those who've given the support, the members of the board, and also all of you members for this term this year. So any of you who are looking for a pardon, you better hurry up and put your request in as soon as possible. Okay. Of course, today we're not going to finish. We're going to start something new with a new legislative session. So the Maryland General Assembly meets this year from January 14th to April 13th to act on more than 2,500 bills. You can imagine that's an overwhelming task, the ability to just be able to digest that amount of information as well as get through. Of course, by the time the end is over, including the state budget, it won't be that many, but still, that's an overwhelming task. The Legislative Committee of the Chamber has a long tradition of reviewing proposed legislations and taking pro-business stands by writing letters and visiting with our delegation and advocating on our interest and in our behalf in our county. And this includes all the various committees on Senate and House committees, House of Delegates. They review our letters so that your voice is heard through the chamber and through our advocacy efforts. So we really appreciate the committee that is involved with this, and I would encourage for those of you who have an interest in this and making sure that your voices are heard to participate in that community. in that committee. This is one of the most valuable and least known benefits that the Chamber provides to our members and to the entire local business community. So if you'd like to participate, again, this is really a great opportunity. Contact Mike, or you can contact Dana Bloom and be involved. And they typically meet starting on Mondays, January 26th through the April 13th. I think I got that right, on Monday. All right. I'd also like to recognize some of the elected officials and VIPs are here with us, so if you might stand as I call out your name, I'm going to sort of rocket through here, and you can give your applause as we go. Members of our Carroll delegation: State Senator Justin Reedy, State Senator Chris West, Delegate Christopher Tomlinson, Delegate Joshua Stanko, Delegate April Rose, I don't believe is here. Okay. Delegate Eric Boucher is here. From our county commissioners, we have our, let's see, is going down our list here. Is Susan Krebs? No, she was registered if she attended. Commissioner Kyler is here. And of course, our county administrator, Roberta Wyndham, is also here. Roberta. From Carroll Community College, our president, Dr. Rose Mintz, is here. Also from the Board of Education, our board president, Steve Whistler, Patricia Dorsey, Kristen Zimmer, Dr. Greg Malveaux. And also our superintendent of schools, Cindy McCabe, is here. And from our Tawny Town City Councilman, Jim McCarron, is here. Now I'd like to turn to the chamber itself. Our past chairs: Dave Bollinger, Barnes Bollinger Insurance Services; Steve Wantz of Carroll Community College, or is it still? Steve Aquino is here from Aquino Financial Services, and Andrea Bursler of the Carroll County Public Library. Andrea is here. So I'd also like to recognize the current chair, the current board of the Chamber of Commerce. If you'd stand so we can give you our recognition as well. If you're a current member of the County Chamber Board, thank you very much. So now I'd like to turn to our sponsors. And so from our Business Solutions from Carroll Community College, and our first sponsor, Business Solutions at Carroll Community College. So Dr. Rose Mintz, if you'd come on up.
Good afternoon. It is absolutely my pleasure to represent Carroll Community College, and it is always a privilege to connect with our Carroll County delegation and the business leaders who make this community work. I want to underscore the vital role that partnerships play in strengthening our local economy and workforce. At Carroll Community College, we are committed to being more than an educational institution. We strive to be a strategic partner for businesses all across the county. Through Carroll Community College's Business Solutions program, we work directly with organizations to strengthen team performance, develop mid-level leaders, and today impact there. We help organizations improve communication and navigate conflict, and we help build high-performing teams that recognize contributions, develop talent, and align daily behaviors with organizational values. For senior leaders, we offer the Leadership Peer Advisory Group, which provides a confidential, facilitated forum for executives who carry significant decision responsibility. It's a trusted space to pressure test decisions, to gain perspective, and to reduce leadership isolation, leading to clearer thinking and stronger decisions. And as technology continues to reshape the workplace, we also support organizations through AI enablement and training. Our goal is to help teams use AI responsibly to improve efficiency, enhance decision-making, and free people to focus on higher-level work. So strengthening teams and helping organizations perform at a higher standard. Together, we can ensure Carroll County businesses remain competitive, resilient, and ready for the future. So, thank you, all of you, for your leadership, for your commitment to policies that support education, workforce development, and economic growth. We look forward to continuing this very important work alongside you. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Mintz. Next, we'll turn to our host, Carroll Hospital and LifeBridge Health Center. And so speaking on their behalf, Leslie Simmons is here, I think is the interim president.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Boy, what a privilege it is to be able to host the Chamber and our elected officials for your annual legislative event. I will have to tell you, it's good to be back home. As the past president of Carroll Hospital, it's really hard when we change leadership at the top, but it is a privilege to me and an honor for me to be able to step back in and work with the amazing team of leaders here and the board of directors to be able to thoughtfully consider who should be the next president of Carroll Hospital Center. So we have engaged with a search committee, Korn Ferry, to be able to conduct that search, and we're going to take our time and do it right. So I could be here for the next 6 or so months, and I'm honored to do it. So a little bit about what's going on at Carroll Hospital. If you haven't noticed, the flu is upon us. And boy, it's here with a vengeance this winter. I have to say, as much as 25% of the patients that are in our hospital right now have flu, COVID, or RSV. So, stay healthy, wash your hands, get good rest, take good care of yourself. And look out after one another. So thank you for your patience with us, because as you can imagine, that surge has put, probably about 30 more patients in the hospital every day than what we're accustomed to. So that creates a bit of a backlog in the emergency department, and I know that's always painful for our community when that happens. So appreciate your ambassadorship to, in case you hear any moans and groans in the community, that's what's happening, and we're doing our best to make sure that we're safely caring for everybody. So thank you for that. Also of note, you probably heard and may be of interest, Neil Meltzer, the CEO of LifeBridge, has decided to retire this June, and we have been through a diligent search to appoint the next CEO of LifeBridge Health. And we have been able to do that. It's Miss Jennifer Nichols, and she will be starting the 1st of February. She comes to us from Hopkins Bayview. She was the president of Hopkins Bayview before joining LifeBridge, and so we are very excited about her coming and her starting. She is a mother of 4 boys, married, and lives in Upperco, and she does consider Carroll Hospital her community hospital. Not sure if she's been a patient here or not, but she does nonetheless consider Carroll her community hospital. So we look forward to welcoming her and all the exciting things that lie ahead. So I wish you the best for a great, successful meeting. And again, we are privileged to be able to host you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Leslie. Now we turn to our media sponsor. Close enough. The Community Media Center has partnered with the Chamber extensively over the years, recording and archiving various events that we have, and today is no exception. So I appreciate all the crew that's here. Of course, you can view those events, by the way, on the Chamber's website. So there is a resource tab that allows you to look back on, and if you wanted to see what did the delegates say last year, well, how's that going to be different this year? You could go back and find that video there, by the way. But let me turn to Susan Reed, who is our Director of Business Development at the Community Media Center. Susan?
I feel like I have fans here. It's very exciting. Couldn't say that a year ago because nobody knew who I was. But I am Susan Reed. I am the Director of Business Development for the Community Media Center of Carroll County, proudly. And at the Community Media Center, our mission is pretty straightforward. We provide innovative technologies and content to inform, engage, and connect the many voices and interests of our communities. And as we enter another election cycle, the role becomes even more critical. Our residents rely on us for clear, accessible, and unbiased information and local issues and the candidates who want to represent them. So for more than 15 years, CMC has been one of the county's trusted sources for nonpartisan election coverage. So this year, no different. We will once again provide an online voter guide for contested races with key dates, live candidate forums, and candidate video profiles. So our municipal coverage, public meetings, and ongoing forums give voters the chance to hear directly from the people shaping the policy in our community. That level of transparency is essential to a healthy local democracy, and it's a responsibility that we take very seriously. So we're equally committed to you guys are the sponsoring part. We are committed to supporting our local high school athletes through our award-winning CM Sportsnet coverage. This year marks a major step forward with the launch of CM Sportsnet Plus, a new subscription service transforming how Carroll County high school sports can be experienced. We're installing cameras in every stadium and gym at every public high school in the county, giving subscribers live and on-demand access to every JV and varsity game. CM Sportsnet expands access to our original award-winning sports programming and strengthens the connection between our schools, our athletes, and our community. And you can learn more at cmsportsnet.com. But we're also facing a real challenge. That's where the sponsor part comes in. So as more households move to streaming, the cable franchise fees that have sustained the Community Media Center for decades continues to decline. So if we're going to maintain that growth and the breadth of coverage that residents depend on, we need partners who value informed, unbiased, community-focused content. So on your tables, you'll find information on how to become a CM Sportsnet sponsor. Your support directly fuels our ability to cover government, elections, sports, and community life. The Community Media Center plays a vital role in keeping residents informed, especially during an election year. So thank you for your support, and please encourage your networks to stay connected through carrollmediacenter.org, where you'll find our new upcoming streaming service, CM Sportsnet Plus. #WatchLocal. Thank you.
Great job, Susan. Thanks very much. Now we turn to the event of the day, and we are very fortunate to have Dana Blum serving as our chair of our legislative committee. Dana has more than 25 years' experience as an HR professional across a broad range of industries, including engineering, manufacturing, nonprofit, and television. She has served on our legislative committee for over 15 years, so please join me in welcoming her to the podium. Dana.
So hello again. It's nice to see everybody. I think one of the things that I wanted to start with was that I don't think I can remember a time when the Democrat majority has been at such odds with each other as they seem to have been really quite recently. I think one person put it as the honeymoon is over, and we'll see how that goes. I'll be interested to see what our delegation, if they have any thoughts on that. But back to protocol here, as we mentioned. First off, if you would all like to take your seats at the table, that would be great. Thank you. As usual, we're always running a little bit short, so let's keep the initial comments to 3 to 5 minutes, speaking from your seat. That will leave us time for follow-up and also from any questions from the audience. I note that Delegate Rose is not here. She's absent without without permission. Okay, I'm kidding. Yeah, I'm kidding. I look forward to seeing her every year, so. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and get started, and we'll, as usual, start with Senator Reedy.
Thank you so much, Dana, and thank you all for being here. It's great to see such a packed audience. The comment that you made, Dana, about the honeymoon being over, the honeymoon with taxpayers and the Democratic majority in Annapolis, I'm not sure it ever began, but certainly it's been over for quite some time in this current governorship. But it has been interesting to watch that there's a lot of tension between, I would say, the leadership in the Senate, the House of Delegates, and the governor. It's not all tension around the same things all the time. Some things they're still aligned on, some things that they're a bit divided on. Sometimes it's the governor and the House versus the Senate. Sometimes it's been the governor and the Senate versus the House. And sometimes it's been the General Assembly versus the governor. However, they're all committed to raising your taxes, and they were fine to coming together on that in the last session. So I wish they could get a little more division on that. I'll skip talking about budget and taxes because we have other folks here who I know can talk about it better than I can. I think a couple of issues that I'm very concerned about as we head into the legislative session: the availability, reliability, and affordability of energy in our state is a critical problem. And all of you have gotten your energy bills for the last couple of months and have seen, I keep my house at about 60 degrees. And I had to pay $400 to keep my house at about 61 or 62 degrees. So, and I'm on a mixture of electric and gas. And I know other folks are all electric or maybe gas or fuel oil, but whatever you're using, it's expensive. Electricity in particular is outrageously going up. And just recently, a group came out and showed that Maryland actually, for all utilities, pays the most per person of any state in America. And just for electricity, we're in the top 5 or 6. Interestingly enough, pretty much all of those high electricity cost states are mostly, not all, Alaska is one of them, but other than Alaska, which is sort of a unique outlier, it's the Northeast. And it's not because the Northeast is colder than Minnesota or North Dakota. It's because a direct result of poor policies that the states that have these high electric rates have passed. And I won't get into all that in my opening comments because I have about 20 seconds left, I'm sure. But in Maryland, we face a real crisis where we already import 40% of our energy from other states. And if Brandon Shores alone, the power plant in Anne Arundel County, which is coal-fired, goes offline, which it's supposed to have already gone offline, it's been kept open for a little while. If that were to go offline tomorrow, we would start importing closer to 80% of our energy just because of one coal-fired power plant, because of the lack of adaptation, the desire to go all green, all renewable, to the exclusion, not in addition to, which all of us are for finding renewable energies, but to the exclusion of natural gas, coal, and no development of nuclear for years and years and years. Now we're finally turning that battleship around a little bit. But it looks like there's going to have higher electric rates in the coming months again. And there's no real quick fix other than I do believe there's some solutions that the governor, rather than having an executive order that just says prices should be lower, which is his last executive order, and we're going to set up a sub-cabinet office to figure this out. There are some things you could do immediately to bring some of that down, but there's not a lot of long-term, there's not a lot of quick, big solutions. There's a lot of long-term solutions. So energy, I think, is one of the biggest issues, and the affordability and availability of energy is going to be one of the biggest issues we tackle this session. There's a lot more I could get into, and I look forward to answering your questions as we move forward.
Great, thank you. Senator West.
Thank you. So as I think many of you know, this will be my last time up in this panel because I'm not running for re-election. I'll be 76 years old in April, and if I ran and got elected to another 4-year term, I would be 80 before I left office, and my health is still good now, but who's to tell what's going to come? So my feeling is there's a time to hold them and a time to fold them, and I'd rather fold them when I'm still fully healthy than fold them at a time that I'm decrepit. So, but as long as, because it is my last session coming up, I want to pay tribute first to the Carroll County Chamber of Commerce under Mike's leadership. And this has been a terrific chamber, and it's been wonderful dealing with the chamber these past 4 years since I got elected to represent Carroll County. A couple of months ago, the Baltimore County Chamber of Commerce decided to go out of business. They literally turned off the light and locked the door behind them. So it's wonderful to have a Carroll County Chamber, by contrast, which is vibrant and successful and strong. And I give a lot of credit to Mike and the whole team and urge you to keep it up. So turning to the General Assembly, remember the date February 24th, if you would. That's the date that's the filing deadline to file for public office. Most of our Democratic friends are scared, more than anything else, of being primaried. And therefore, I think you're going to find that this year there's not a lot of controversial stuff which happens before February 24th. After 24th, if no one files to run against them, they're home free, and they can do what they want to do. And many of them, at least in the Senate, are more moderate than you would think based on public pronouncements. So once they're beyond February 24th, I am hopeful that the Republicans can work behind the scenes with Democrats to cushion some of the bills that will be introduced and reduce the progressive nature of the bills to make them more moderate and more acceptable to the vast majority of the voters in Maryland. So remember that date, February 24th. It's a critical date this year. I've got a couple of bills coming up. I just could talk, Justin mentioned energy. Just one thing that I'm involved with. There's a multi-state group of legislators from all the states in the PJM grid. We're part of the PJM grid that starts in Chicago and goes all the way east to the Atlantic Ocean and from the New York border down into North Carolina. PJM stands for Pennsylvania, Jersey, Maryland, by the way. So we're at the heart of the grid. So there are a group of legislators in every one of the PJM states that are trying to push in their respective states for bills relating to data centers. The reason why we're in such trouble, electricity-wise, is because of these data centers, each one of which uses as much electricity as a small city. We don't have many in Maryland. There are some under development now. But Virginia is the world's epicenter of data centers, and that's why they want to build this transmission line through Maryland to move electricity down into Virginia to power their data centers. So our legislators are trying to do a bill which says if you're going to open up an organization which is going to use vast amounts of electricity, i.e. a data center, you either have to supply your own electricity by building your own power plant to go along with your new data center, or alternatively, if you don't do that, you're the first organization that gets turned off when we have a problem because there's not enough electricity. If we do that, it'll be a huge benefit for our ratepayers because when electricity gets scarce, as it is scheduled to due to the increasing demand, next year, not this year, next year, Maryland is scheduled to go dark because of the increasing demand. When that happens, it'll be the data centers that get turned off first. It will not be your home, it'll not be your office, it won't be your school or your hospital, heaven forfend, it'll be the data centers. So we'll talk about more when the questions come up, but that's something I'm working hard on. Thanks.
Thank you. Delegate Tomlinson.
Thanks for having me here. One of the things that I want to talk about is there were some massive changes that occurred in the House while we were between when we left in April and now. There's still going to be more changes to come. And whether the changes are necessarily good or bad, it's somewhere in the middle. So our the only speaker that the three of us have had since we were sworn in back in January 2023, Adrienne Jones of Baltimore County, she abruptly stepped down last month, and quickly you had several people. There was always kind of a short list of names of people who would put their names forth, and most of the usual or obvious suspects put their names in immediately, and but quickly the Democrats got together and figured out who was going to be their leader. I mean, within, I don't even know if days is appropriate. It might have been a day. So who they landed on was a woman named Jocelyn Penamelnick out of Prince George's County, and she has a little bit of Anne Arundel County. I think for us as Republicans, it might have been the best case scenario for us. Is she more progressive? Yes. Is she a hard worker, somebody who works, with the Republicans and given us a chance in committee to actually speak up, get amendments through, get bills passed. I mean, most of the bills I passed have been through her committee. And sorry, let me back up. She was the chair of the Health and Government Operations Committee for years. So in one way, yes, she's more progressive, but and on the other hand, she's, I think, going to be, I think she might open the door a little bit more to us as the minority party. And then quickly after she was named named speaker, she started to shake up the committees drastically. For one, she started a brand new committee. There's been 6 committees for, I don't know, decades. And so she spun off a 7th committee called, well, we're still working on the name here. We're thinking it's going to be called LEGO. Labor, Elections, and Government Operations. And they're going to cover a variety of topics. I'll get into that in a second. So there's a brand new committee. Of the 6 committees that existed already, obviously there was a vacancy on the committee that she was on. But the other 3 other committees, the chairs are gone as well. So out of the 6 that existed already, 4 are going to be new chairs. So it's going to be a completely different landscape. And it's kind of the same situation with the speaker. I think most of the new chairs are certainly more progressive, but I think they're going to work a little bit better. I don't know about with every Republican, but me personally, I think so. And some of the chairs that are leaving were where I would say they were more moderate, but they just didn't have much of an open door. It was difficult to meet with them. They kind of did things their way and only their way, and didn't really take a lot of input. And that wasn't just from Republicans; that's from people in their own party. So I am looking forward, and I'm cautiously optimistic on how things will go. I might be back here next year or in April saying, "Oh my God, it was the worst session. These people are out of their minds." But I am kind of optimistic. And so this new committee, I actually landed on this new committee. I lobbied pretty hard. They probably were just annoyed and put me on the committee, so I'd stop begging them. But the new committee, I'm very excited to be on it. It covers kind of a random hodgepodge of subjects, including, like I said, the L in the committee stands for labor. So we'll have labor, which is going to be an interesting subject. I need to start studying up on that. Election law. Immediately, one of the people that reached out to me was our former Carroll County Board of Elections Director, Catherine Berry, who left us a couple years ago to go, or maybe just a year or 2 ago, who moved up to becoming the deputy for the entire state. So she's the deputy to the election director for the State Board of Elections, and so. I'm excited to get into election law. It's obviously an important topic, and having Catherine as a good resource, I'm very happy with that one. We're also gonna the GO part is government operations, and which is the subject that most interests me. That includes procurement. I'm like one of 141 delegates who actually cares about procurement and kind of knows it. So I'm very excited to be able to work on procurement policy. We're also going to have ethics. We'll have local government. I hope that will help us in Carroll County. The commissioners, they always bring forth a couple bills, and we work with our local partners, whether it's the sheriff's office or nonprofits, to put forth some local legislation here and there. So I'm hoping that with me being on this committee, that will help us. We're also going to have oversight on personnel, and then last, corrections, which I thought I was getting away from corrections, leaving judiciary, but apparently it's following me over to this new committee. So it's going to be a completely different world down there this year. I'm gonna kind of maybe not miss judiciary, which Eric is still on down there. Judiciary is kind of, when you tell people that you're on judiciary, people who are from Annapolis or spend a lot of time in Annapolis, they usually kind of put their arm on your shoulder and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, sorry to hear you're on judiciary," just because it's traditionally had the longest hours, and we see really, we go over really tough issues, any of the sexual abuse that happened in youth correctional facilities or in the church. All that stuff went through our committee. You hear really horrific stories day after day after day. So I'm off that committee. So Eric, you can tell me what it's like when you're getting out at 8 o'clock. Yeah. So with that, I'll turn it over to Delegate Stanko.
All right, thank you. And forgive me, I'm going to start my clock for all of everybody's benefit here. If I don't waste time trying to do it. So let's talk your pocketbook. We're staring down $1.4 billion in deficits out of what we were just told from tax increases to that wasn't going to happen. So the governor, the legislative leaders are in a space they didn't think they would be, and you'll see a lot of blaming up this year on President Trump, the administration, and the pull-through pieces there, and the impact to our eds, meds, and feds economy. When I look into this year, I try to think about what we're going to do from what the state ends up doing, what we'll all try to do, and what I'll try to do from the House Appropriations, and kind of lessening the blow. The Senate President's made it really clear that he does not want to do tax increases again this year. I think that's a good sign. But here's the rub to that. It's the stuff that you didn't see last year, the cuts that didn't happen, and where they targeted their efforts, and that's the places they'll start. So one that got a lot of focus, and there's folks here in this room that I know it's direct impact on, was disability services, right? So they went right to the place where the most vulnerable group, or the place they started with large cuts. Those got added back. You probably make an argument that was part of a strategy to make tax increases a little bit more palatable to folks. The real challenge so moving past that, right, other places where cuts were on the table and significantly considered. Hospital systems, our educators, so specifically big cuts to community colleges and the private school enterprise, so to speak, so think McDaniel, Stevenson, et cetera. Lots of cuts happen there, but not to the same extent. Those will be back. Those will be much more in force. Those do not solve any real structural problems. Structural problems in the state really come down to two areas. Areas that our Democratic colleagues focus on, and an area that I spent essentially all of last year on, which is education and Medicaid. Medicaid pulled through. That is a fair view of changes. The cost share continues to change with the federal government because expenses continue to go through. We doubled down and expanded Medicaid in COVID. Those were not put in as temporary changes. They were permanent changes. Once people get those permanent changes, they expect those permanent changes. That has to be unwound. You can't have families that are clearing, families of 4 that are making over $100,000 a year in income qualifying for Medicaid. It's there for the most vulnerable. I can say unpopular things, I'm not running again, right? So that's a reality. The second part is framing on the education level. I think a deal needs to be cut. I'm going to put it bluntly. A deal needs to be cut with a couple of partners at the state level, Maryland State Education Association and the Black Caucus and the Democrats and the Democratic majority in Annapolis for priorities. Taking a step back 5 years ago, when it was passed, the Blueprint for Education was passed as with no funding mechanism. It bought some time because what happened was cannabis and gaming created a special fund to front end the initial cost of Blueprint. That fund has now been exhausted, which is now why you're seeing general fund dollars and large deficits. That will ramp up. They're saying $1.4 billion today. I think you end up at $1.8 billion or $2 billion the first week of January when the spending affordability comes up for this year. And that grows to $3, $4, $5 billion a year in increases in the out years as more and more additional focuses. I'm not going to, I won't be there, but I think the deal that probably needs to be thought through, this year I think it gets plugged with the Rainy Day Fund. The Rainy Day Fund is not for structural changes. They will do that this year strongly, I think, to backstop and push this issue out past the election in 27. But the Rainy Day Fund is there for things like we passed a bill for the sexual abuse victims from private and state government and local government. That is a one-time expense that's going to happen. That could be as much as $5 billion that has not hit a budget reconciliation, but it should be one time. That is what the Rainy Day Fund is for. The Rainy Day Fund is for Government shutdown, SNAP benefits paused, the state of Maryland decided to backstop it. You can agree or disagree. I supported that personally. It was about $140 million. That's why we have a rainy day fund. We do not have a rainy day fund for structural challenges. My pitch for the education, Black Caucus focus, and the Democratic supermajority for Blueprint will be really framed around teachers, compensation. They have a strong piece with national boards that have been compensation driving through accreditation and the national board certifications. If I was the MSEA, I would be fighting tooth and nail to keep that. The area that gave a little bit last year, and I think ultimately does give, is volume of teachers and collaborative time. It's expansive. It's more. It will not be anything that anyone wants to give, right? But like the functional reality, I say anyone that group will want to give, but the functional reality. I think that you need to see the Black Caucus. If you go to some of the schools, like in East Baltimore or West Baltimore, you can see why they want community schools. Again, I think they're needed desperately there. If you go to those schools, it is not like going to Tawnytown Elementary School. The community school rollout pops up pretty dramatically over the coming years. Like you add community schools as it kind of ramps up, so more community schools will be added. I think that needs to be brought back, and so you have to find this kind of common ground that says, what are the teachers' priorities, what are the students' priorities, what are the parents' priorities, what are the taxpayer priorities. That's just the functional truth to it. I'm very thankful, so I want to take a moment to say this, very thankful to our Democratic colleagues, the Maryland State Education Association, the CCEA, challenged strategy to get a Blueprint waiver. It could not have been done with every partner, and transparently led by the CCEA. We kind of followed their support in that, and we're Republicans. It's not super common you hear it because it was an issue for the county and for our teachers and for our students, and they really stepped up to help us. So don't take this as I'm some taking down on any individual group. That's the state budget, right? There are two areas that we don't have funding for. You cannot make them up with small things that you do, and so there's going to be last year wasn't significant when we talk about what's needed here, or significant changes to those programs, and so that's your pocketbooks or that's your schools, and so kind of stepping is the impact of the counties, right? So one of the areas I do think they'll make structural changes. It was another thing was pushing down costs, unfunded mandates to the counties. Right, so that back ends to the schools, our teachers, and our Board of Ed are in their annual or getting close to their annual. Right, every dollar that gets to the school system. So if you see Blueprint pushes, that's putting the Blueprint against our teachers in a weird and unique way, right? Because it's going to take costs from our school system that has to be dedicated through. So we have, as a state, and as individual lobbying groups, individual taxpayers, individual stakeholders. A lot of things that are coming together at one time from a cost perspective that have to be figured out about priorities. I think this year is going to be a lot of buying time until after the 27 election, but you can't buy any more time after 2027. And so I think that you're going to see a little bit of bridging the gap this year for a very, very, very challenging 2027. So hold your pocketbooks. Thank you.
Thank you. Delegate Boucher.
Well, after hearing all these politicians talk, thank you very much. Have a good day. Actually, like Senator West and Delegate Stanko, I'll be like Kenny Rogers and folding it up after this next session and term in office. It's been a tremendous honor to serve, and it's really nice to be in front of such a wonderful audience I can identify with. I believe I am the only corporate business owner on this delegation. So I very much identify with where you're coming from and what you've been through. I have pre-filed 11 bills in the House of Delegates, obtained co-sponsors from my colleagues on both sides of the aisle, and I will be having a vehicle emissions bill cross-filed in the Senate by Senator Justin Reedy, and I want to thank him very much for doing that. He understands business as well as I do. What we're faced with their budget and the state finances, everyone in this room who's a business owner like me knows exactly what to do. You reduce your costs and you focus your efforts in on increasing your sales and increase your revenue and cash flow. And for some reason, that psychology does not exist in the General Assembly. So I'm going to do my best in my last session to try to reach across the aisle and find that common ground. And I like what Senator West mentioned about there's moderates in the Senate. The Senate, thank goodness, we have those individuals there who have more of a moderation and work as a check valve. And the key for us as Republicans in this session is trying to find that common ground, because there are Democrats out there that live in vulnerable districts and are willing to find the middle with us. As a businessman of 32 years, it's been a tremendous sacrifice from me. I almost went out of business earlier this year, and it's extremely difficult for anyone who runs a business to represent their constituents in the General Assembly. And to try to be able to produce some sort of return on investment is damn near impossible. And the only way that we can change that in the long term is the citizens of Maryland need to become sovereign over the Maryland General Assembly. You may think you're sovereign over us because you vote for us, but technically you are not. I'm an extreme political science history nerd, and what I'm telling you is this: as long as our politicians, the majority leaders in the Maryland General Assembly, continue to draw their own districts, there is absolutely no chance whatsoever that the Maryland Republicans will ever obtain any majority of either chamber. So we're stuck in 106 years of a legislative dictatorship. And because of that, we wind up with these budgetary problems. There's no pushback, there's no check valve. So once again, I am introducing the Citizen Redistricting Convention Bill, which would allow all the counties throughout the state of Maryland after the census to be able to elect citizens to come together in a convention and draw our districts. On the long term, that is the only true way we as citizens in the state of Maryland can ever break the shackles of single-party legislative dictatorship. So I've reintroduced that bill again. As a businessman, this is what's really important to you. I have introduced a tax reform bill. And the logic behind this bill is a 3% tax rate on your personal income, your capital gains income, your corporate income, which is synonymous with capital gains in my mind as a businessman, and your consumption, 3%. So whether you're earning, investing, or spending, the net for the state is always 3%. And that's really critical on an economic standpoint as we move into the future with the baby boomers moving into retirement. What is really taking place that's exacerbating our financial difficulty is this: we have an income-based tax system for revenue driving our state economy. You have less younger people moving into the workforce. You have more senior citizens that are making a lot of money. Like you're at a level that you're making your highest income ever. Then you retire. That income tax is usurped out of the tax base for the state and you moved into your retirement. Then you're dealing more with capital gains. So whether we have less or more young people or old people, or they're earning more or spending more or investing more, from a financial standpoint, I believe it's genius to do this because it'll stabilize our cash flow. And everyone here that's an accountant understands, and economics understands the stability and forecasting your receivables. That would also stimulate our economy and get more investment into our state. Customers flee the state of, and I'm barely staying in business. I want to put my 10 years in. I want to get the hell out of the state. But before I do that, I'm going to do everything I can humanly possibly do to help the other businesses out in this state try to recover when it's being inflicted upon them. So you need to talk about this 3% flat tax rate system. Politicians, the average citizens have lost their discretionary income. It all up. The special interest groups are at the table in the General Assembly sprinkling money on the politicians lobbying us to get their money out of the state budget. They have the money, so it's a vicious circle. If you're a politician, you want to get elected or reelected, you need to go suck up all the special interest groups because they have the money. You don't, and that's the vicious circle we're in. Those special interest groups do not care about my constituents. They care about the people that are paying their check that are lobbyists. So do everything you can. I like it was mentioned how earlier by Mr. Turner, you need to lobby this institution. You need to call us. You need to email us. You need to show up. You need to have your voices heard because squeaky wheels get oiled. And with that, I say God bless America and don't give up hope.
Thank you all. I guess we can throw it out for questions. Do we have a microphone? Dr. Plant.
The question I have is more for I guess, all of them, but particularly Senator Reedy. You talked a little bit about the 40% energy deficit we have in Maryland, which is certainly a concern. One of the other concerns that I have is due to recent legislation, we basically have no electric choice in Maryland anymore. And even large suppliers like Washington Gas and Constellation, which is based in Maryland, don't supply residential electricity anymore. So even though that doesn't fix the 40% deficit, shopping for electricity did decrease rates. And I believe that was due to legislation that was done a year or two ago. They kind of overdid it. So we need to find some way to reinstate electric choice in Maryland. Even though we technically have it, we really don't.
That's a great question, and it actually, I get constituent emails, and I try to answer anybody that contacts me. Sometimes I have to answer and say I don't know, but I'll try to find the answer. I can tell you that specific issue of electric choice, I've gotten more emails on that are personal. Sometimes you'll get like 100 blast emails from some group that's had people sign their name, but I mean, I've never had the volume of emails on, other than something like MPRP, than this. Everybody, you may have too, spoken on the floor. I spoke against it on the floor and raised that very issue. One was supposed to be, among other things, it was one of these problems with energy in the General Assembly. You get these huge omnibus energy bills, and they do 4 or 5 different things. We have a single subject rule in the General Assembly for bills, which is a great thing. You can't have a bill that covers 8 different subjects, but something like energy, we get a bunch of stuff in there. And it was trying to re-regulate the market to provide more stability. How's that going? Not well. It was also designed to go after bad actors, because there were some of these electric providers that were like shady groups that would come knock on your door and tell you can get a better rate. But that was a pretty small amount of people, and there were ways to go after those people. What they did with this bill was they basically made it so that it made it very, very hard for you to offer any sort of choice. So it essentially created another monopoly, unregulated monopoly. Correct, because if you were going to re-regulate, you would at least have the protection of everything being regulated again, even if it was a monopoly. But in this case, it's an unregulated monopoly. We have legislation we're working on. It's actually Senator Hershey's going to be the lead on it, but our Republican caucus is going to put forth to try to address that issue It said you don't have to throw the whole SB 1 out, although I didn't really think it was a particularly good bill, but if there are parts that were good, but we need to address this issue of consumer choice, because competition helps drive down the market. So that was a huge problem. We did warn about it. We were told on the floor, no, that's a red herring. It's not going to be a problem, and they were wrong, which I think
that's something that probably could get some bipartisan support on.
Yes, that's what we're trying to do. So I mentioned it's our Republican leader is going to put it in, but part of the reason we haven't come out and said the Republicans want to repeal this is we are trying to talk to, because a number of our colleagues on the Democratic side have gotten these emails too, and so we're like, what can we do that maybe I would prefer to just throw that whole bill out, but maybe we can't do that, but can we address this? Because it's a huge problem with consumer choice.
It's a big problem.
Yep.
And I'll say this, on the House side, subject areas of energy and utilities have been stripped out of economic matters. So the committee, it's actually kind of hilarious. So a certain delegate who has positioned herself as the face of green climate change and all this stuff. She was made the committee. She was not in leadership, and then she was made the vice committee chair of economic matters. And when I first saw this, I said, "Oh my God! They gave this woman, they put her in a position now where she actually has some control. She's done a great job of unofficially being the face of the Democratic Party for energy."
For what it's worth, I saw the whole list, and that was the first thing I thought of.
Oh, no, I did too. I thought it was terrible.
But then,
This is the best news I've heard all day.
but the two issues that she cared most about, they stripped out of the committee. So she's in leadership, but no longer does she have any oversight over the two things she cares most about in the world. So energy and utilities are now under environment and transportation. The committee chair there is Mark Corman. He's one of the few chairs that I'm not sure about Stanko. I have gotten an equal amount of emails, and that is one of the things, the top of my list when we get down there and get sworn in. I am going to try to corner Corman at a supplier market being
Yeah, let's
destroyed.
actually protect consumers.
Yeah.
Let's by giving them a choice. Right.
So I don't know. But like I said, cautiously optimistic.
Support last year to really lessen the impact of people with disabilities, and I'm a little nervous about this year, and so I'm hoping that we don't have to go through that again. But if we do, then we'll come and visit. But my question is, what is the likelihood of a new minimum wage?
I think if there's an outlier policy that passes, that's probably that's a very strong campaign policy in a Democratic Party that just elected Zohran Mamdani, the the mayor of New York City. I've heard some rumblings, and then there was something that was filed is going to be filed to increase it. That is a policy that would not surprise me that comes up again this year.
I would say on minimum wage, normally there are rumblings by this time of the year as to what the Democrats have in mind. I haven't heard any rumblings.
It's been on our side.
Has it really? Okay. In the Senate, I think they're going to have some problems.
It comes through the committee I'm on, which is Senate Finance, and we get all the labor stuff. Labor business regulation, we get minimum wage. Our chair is pretty, I think we'd take a pretty dim view of raising it more right now. So I think that it's, you never say never, but because you've learned their bargaining chips happen, but I certainly don't think you'd see a $20 minimum wage. I think if something were to happen, they might stagger it, but I don't think we'll do it.
The bill that is being discussed seriously in the House is a bill that would put it to the voters, which is the kind of bill I think that would go through.
They'll never put a tax cut before the voters, but they would put this before the voters.
Give the people what they want.
Right.
Lovely. I don't think that's going to happen this year.
They get to say it happened.
Thank you. Delegate Bouchard, when he was talking about the Citizens Redistricting Committee, and I'm asking this not as a challenge, I don't know anything about what would be on the side of doing something like that? I'm just trying to understand better what that entails.
Well, the downside is you take the authority away from us, the politicians. I think I need to elaborate on policy and the would be 188 citizens from all 24 state political subdivisions. That's 23 counties of Baltimore City. And each county would have a delegation elected based upon its population versus the ratio of the overall state. Like Montgomery County is the largest county. They could elect 29 citizens, Carroll 4, Baltimore City 16. You get the gist of it. But no matter how small the county is, you'd have at least 3 citizens elected at large. And these citizens who would be elected to represent their counties would be elected on nonpartisan ballots like the Board of Elections, so you wouldn't know what party affiliation they are. They would be prohibited from being an elected official, means none of us could be there, or if you're on the central committee, you'd have to be just an average citizen and you get elected. So if Carroll County was allotted 4 citizens on the ballot, the top 4 vote getters would go to this convention and they would help draw the districts. They would have hearings in every county, hearing from their constituents. Now, if you get elected and you serve drawing the districts, you have a 1 election cycle prohibition from running for office, so you could not draw your own district. That's an amazing thought. Kind of like preventing elementary school kids from grading their school papers. They would all be straight A students. So now we have all straight A politicians, so we need to eliminate that. So those citizens would get elected and they'd have hearings in their counties and they'd hear directly from you, the citizens. And the genius of this policy falls back on the political science of Hamilton and Madison and how they create the United States Constitution. This is the way we're going to end gerrymandering nationwide. Allow the citizens to draw the districts. By having all those individual counties pulling at one another, it prevents anyone from dominating the system. And that's why the Constitutional Convention works so well, because each state had delegations pulling at one another. The selfish interests of Carroll County's delegation will work with the selfish interests of Baltimore City and any other jurisdiction, because everyone's self-interest pulling at one another is the genius of eliminating any one particular party or fraction from dominating. And it would level things out. It would force different counties to cooperate with other counties to have good balanced districts. Right now, the only motivation for the districts being drawn in the state of Maryland is the self-perpetuation of the Democratic Party leadership of the General Assembly, and it's worked for 106 years straight. Now, I'm going to tell you, that's corruption and it's cheating, because I defy anyone in this room to flip a coin 106 times in a row and have it land on head every time. It doesn't happen. Baltimore City's General Assembly has a corrupt system, and it's the responsibility and obligation of you, the citizens, to help change that, or else you're going to keep enduring the mess you have financially.
All right, the rest of you are looking pretty solemn. What are your thoughts on that?
I would focus my time on Maryland taxpayers.
Okay.
I think the only challenge, I would love for it to be enacted. We have it, it's a hard time for it to get through the General Assembly. It doesn't mean I don't support. We've got some other redistricting reform bills that are going in as well to try to reform congressional and state legislative redistricting. The only challenge would be if you get a majority of people from a majority of that commission would still be from counties that are very populated and bluer, so they might still force a majority, but I still think you'd be better off. We are a majority Democrat registered state, so it's not crazy that they'd still have a majority, but I think Delegate Boucher is correct in what he's pointed out, that they draw districts to the maximum benefit. And what happens is the worst part about, everybody thinks about congressional redistricting, that's what makes all the news, and it's almost a separate issue than what he's referencing. The state legislative maps that were drawn in 2022, which we came up one judge short in the Supreme Court of Maryland of overturning, what they did was, in the Senate, speaking just for the Senate, we have 47 state Senate districts. There are 13 Republicans, 34 Democrats. There's maybe one of the 13 Republican seats that's at all swingy, and there's maybe 2 to 3 of the 34 Democratic seats that are at all what I would call swingy, meaning that by the numbers, a Republican maybe conceivably could win on a normal sort of, even then would be sort of an upset, but a reasonable amount of crossover vote. Beyond that, not that there's not some districts that we won't compete in, but the numbers are just become like 60-40, 65-35 type districts that are just hard to win. And the same, frankly, for the 13. What they did was they locked it in place. They said, we're not going to go after we're not going to try to get you down to 10 Republicans because we don't really care after you're down below about 18 or 19, really. But we'll lock you in at 13 and a half, or 14 at most, 12 at least. And, so that's, the challenge would be if we did that I think you'd still have a majority, Democratic majority, because it's not that would be reasonable if it wasn't that every seat is basically locked up and there's no competition beyond a few seats. So the problem we have in the General Assembly, the biggest problem we have is that most of our colleagues, many of whom are nice people, including the lady we were talking about earlier on energy, she thinks everybody should just have a windmill in their yard, but she's a very nice lady. I mean that sincerely, very good person. But the biggest fear of any of these people is that they would get a left-wing Democratic primary. They don't have any, almost all of our colleagues have less than 10% fear of a general election. They just are most afraid they'll get a left-wing kook primary. And I mean that in the most affectionate way possible.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
That
Yeah.
helps to
And
see
with
the
that,
picture.
I'm sorry, yeah, we have reached the end of our time today. I just want to say thank you to all of you for participating and to our legislative committee, and I'm going to turn it back to Mike.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much. I want to thank Richard. I want to thank Dan. I want to thank our delegation. How about another round of applause for them? Okay, by a show of hands, next year, if we did this from noon to 2, we're always trying to be careful of the time frame, because we know everybody has to get back to work, and we usually only do a lunch for an hour and a half. If we did this from noon to 2 and left more time for Q&A, how many of you would like that? Okay, maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll do it to 1:45. We'll do a compromise like you guys do.
There you go, there you go.
Okay, you got to compromise.
Moderation.
Yeah, that's right. We have a lot of great events that we've got coming down. We have our delegate. We've got our commissioners a week from today. That's a great event that we do. It's free. Would ask you please to sign up for that. And Senator West, I want to thank you for the kind words you said about me. But if the truth be known, I mean, really, I think I do a pretty good job, but our staff's amazing. Becky and Megan, they're awesome. And beyond that, it's not the chamber staff that makes the chamber so good, and we are good. We do a lot of different things. If you look, we don't just have one type of meeting. We don't just have something where our elected officials come in or after-hour networking. We do all kinds of great things through our foundation. We take trips. We have fun. We just had 103 people. Well, we had 83 folks over in Austria, just kind of building relationships and checking out the Christmas markets. So we do a lot of good things like that. It's the members that make the chamber so great. It's you guys out there. This is a great community, and it's an easy community to be in charge or involved in the chamber. And again, I want to thank you all for that. Probably nothing else I want to say. I know we kind of got get everybody back. If there's any food out there, grab it, put it in your pockets on the way out. Thanks again to the hospital and to our sponsors. You guys are all great. The college, CMC, and the hospital. Thank you so much, everyone. You did. You were good.
I started to keep going. I'm like, nope.
No. You were good.
It was good. Yeah, it was.
Thank you. Yes.